Hello, and welcome to Ghost Stories. I'm your interviewer intern, Beth Oglesby, and join us as we traverse the continental United States, interviewing ghouls, goblins, ghosts, and other monstrosities in order to bridge the gap between, monstrosities and humanity, and to demystify the mystic. Today, we find ourselves broken down at a truck stop in Iowa because Arthur forgot to do the annual inspection for our RV.
I was not aware that was under my purview. I figured you get an intern, they handle all sorts of things for you, and I thought that was included.
That was not included in the contract that we have. That is the registration is a Pennsylvania registration under your name, so that is your responsibility as a responsible RV car owner. Anyway.
Well, we've learned from this.
You've learned, I hope.
And we've been presented a special opportunity.
Yes, today is an interesting opportunity because as we are broken down, we are not able to reach our guests that we had lined up this week.
Ted, the dancing and singing rhino.
One of these days we'll have to reschedule Ted. He's very busy.
He's very busy. Tough schedule to nail down.
Yeah, so I'm sure, that'll be a future episode. Anyway, I'm going to be interviewing Arthur, which is... Okay.
That's me.
Yeah, it is. Which is interesting because he's very cagey to me, so I'm actually going to be learning a lot about his life. Arthur, why did you decide to do this interview?
This interview?
Why are you opening up now?
Well, I believe that... you've been my intern for what, 3-4 years now?
Yeah.
Following me around, living in my RV. I figure you've earned the right to know. And, if anyone is going to tell the story of Arthur Q. Mansley, it might as well be Beth Oglesby.
Okay, first question, what does the Q stand for?
You've touched on an interesting topic. Because it actually depends upon the time zone that I'm in.
I mean, we're in Iowa, so...
Yes, so it is currently Quincy.
So you know what? I don't want to ask about that. That is something that I wasn't planning on asking, so we're not going to ask about it.
You must be prepared for bizarre answers. I'm a complex individual.
I mean, yeah, that's what you're trying to teach me through this internship. So that's also why we're here, because it's an internship opportunity for me to try out interviewing.
Yes, in the paranormal interviewing world, you have to be ready for curveballs to be thrown at you. So, I'm the curviest ball of all.
Okay. So, first question that I actually prepared, Arthur, what is a paranormal interviewer? What does that mean for you?
Well, it's exactly what it says on the box. You see, it is one who goes to paranormal beings or events and asks the questions that people are asking in their minds, but not with the mouthy bits.
Okay. And how did you get into this field? Is there some sort of education program that requires, or is it like apprenticeships?
Typically, it is an apprenticeship. The paranormal interviewing profession is more of a trade, you see. You must learn from a master interviewer. Both the questions to ask and the proper manners and respect to have for your interviewers, so that you do not get mauled or cursed or banished to another dimension. Oh, that's a whole rigmarole you don't want to deal with, Beth. Don't even go there.
Okay, that's a question for later on in this interview, actually, because that sounds very interesting. So, who did you study under?
Who did I study under?
Yeah.
It was none other than the great and powerful Lorem Ipsum.
You're kidding. The
Lorem Ipsum, yes. Yes, world-renowned for his interview of King Tut's mummy.
Oh, was that the guy?
Yes.
Wow.
It's difficult to get that guy to speak, but Lorem Ipsum.
That was his big break.
He knows a thing or two.
Yeah, so how long were you an intern under him?
I believe it would have been, 23 years? Somewhere in that area.
Oh, is that how long this can take?
Oh, yes, you're an apprentice until you're ready to ascend to masterhood, Beth. I thought you read the contract you were referring to. Well,
Next
that's
question. Next question. So, when you were a child, Arthur, were you interested in the cryptids and the monstrosities? How did this interest blossom?
Well, it's actually quite interesting. When I was a child, but a wee pup, I was actually terrified of ghosts, ghouls, and goblins and everything in between. I actually aspired to be an ornithologist, if you will.
A what?
An ornithologist. It is.
What is that for the listeners? Because I know what that is.
Yes, of course you do. It is someone who's interested in birds and studies birds and their movements and the bird-like birdiness.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just turns out that birds really don't like me.
Not a lot of people do, but I didn't say that.
Well, that was a little below the belt, Beth.
So how did ornithology go into cryptozoology?
I was getting to that before you insulted me so. This is why I'm still an apprentice, Beth. Well, from ornithology to cryptid interviewing, well, of course, you start with the birds, right? You're interviewing your sparrows and your jackdaws and your killdeer and other various flappy creatures. But eventually, it was just the talon marks, the peck wounds, the feathers left in my bed overnight. It got to be too much. I had to leave the profession. It was just too much harassment from the clientele. So I went on a walkabout, I believe you would call it. I just kind of took a note from Forrest Gump's book. I started walking until I didn't want to walk no more. Yes.
Wow, you've got current references. I'll tell you that.
I've watched a film or two in my day, but I went walking, and when I got tired of walking, I found myself at the doorstep of one lorem ipsum.
You just happened upon the.
It is fate. Fate, dear Beth, drives everything.
And he just took you under his wing. He was just like, yeah, okay.
Yes, much like a small child is carried by a stork and deposited upon a doorstep. I arrived like a swaddling babe upon Lorem's doorstep, ready and willing to be molded into the paranormal interviewer I knew I was meant to be.
A related question, I suppose. You put out a search for an intern. Why did you decide to do that? I did not happen upon you like a stork or whatever.
Well, unlike Master Ipsum, I myself do not have a plot of land that is my own, or real estate, as some would say. So I'm in the mystical magical RV, as you are well aware. And therefore I took it upon myself to send out the feelers for the potential candidates to find, so as they wouldn't have to walk about and happen upon my RV wherever I may be.
What made you sure that you were ready for an intern? And why did you want to teach somebody?
Honestly, it was all of the paperwork was just getting to be a bit much. So I just needed someone to handle that.
Wait, am I supposed to be doing paperwork?
Like taxes and stuff, yes.
I do. Yes, I do. I thought
okay.
I thought there were separate.
Oh boy, I've messed with a lot of powerful beings, but I do not want to mess with the IRS.
I thought you meant different like cryptid paperwork. I don't do any of that.
Oh, there is no paperwork in the universe that could contain all of my assorted knowledge on various beings.
Okay. So with all the various beings that you know and either happen upon, how does that work? Do you contact them? Do they contact you? Is it like, do you know people who know people so they connect you?
I would have to say all of the above, to be honest. It is a very case-by-case basis. Some beings are just so eager to be seen and heard that they seek out an interviewer to spread their story, much like Squeeb from our on-air episode, the Squeeb Beast. was one such being who hunted me down and demanded his story be told.
I was there for that, and he was very nice about it, so don't twist the story.
This is another thing you have to learn, Beth, is
Embellishment.
Embellishment. Look at you. You're like a little dictionary of your own. But yes, embellishment. The listeners aren't here to hear facts. They're here to hear emotions.
Well, aren't the cryptids here to tell their facts?
And we spruce them up with some emotions. You're talking to a zombie. They're not well known for being emotionally diverse creatures.
That seems kind of pigeonholing, actually. So you maybe want to watch out for that.
Beth, who's the master here, and who's the apprentice?
That's a good question.
I want you to ponder this.
I've been pondering that for 3 to 4 years.
And you're well on your way.
Is that all this is? Anyway, you mentioned that you've been interviewing for a long. You said that you've found cryptids to interview for a long time.
Yes.
You've been interviewing before I came upon the search, I suppose, for the intern. Why did you now decide to start recording these and putting them on the internet, other than that I am technologically able to do that?
Well, that is the primary reason, is that you have the technological know-how and mastery to accomplish this feat. And prior, mailing out a cassette tape every week to my subscriber base really was just becoming financially untenable. A few thousand cassette tapes really costs a lot more than you would think, even if you're buying in bulk.
You used to mail them with cassettes?
Oh, yes, of course.
Arthur,
I would hand deliver most of them, just because I don't trust the postal system.
The postal system is very reliable. Do not bash them.
I've done some interviews, and I've learned some things. If you listen to the tapes, you would know.
Okay. I don't know how many cryptids are working in the postal system.
More than you would think. Honestly, it's surprising. It's astounding that they've managed to coalesce in one location.
It's a great company, from what I hear. Anyway, so how do you think that this recording process, ghost stories, how do you think it's going? We've been doing this for a couple months now. Compared to the cassettes, it's definitely more convenient for you.
Well, I will say I miss the heart-warming and soul-enriching sound of a cassette tape rewinding after a failed recording. That is just the sound of mistakes being wiped away. You don't really get that satisfaction smashing a delete button and frantically hammering a hard drive with a sledgehammer. It's not nearly as satisfying.
What are you doing with our equipment?
When we fail a recording, it has to be destroyed.
What?
Yes.
Is that what you do?
Sensitive information.
Well, then why are you broadcasting it to the entire world?
What has been broadcast has been scanned through, it has been verified and fact-checked, and Arthur Mansley approved.
Is that what you do, like on Wednesdays when you're in your studio? Like you're like rewinding just cassette tapes for the fun of it?
My Wednesday me time is very personal, okay? I may play recordings of rewinding cassette tapes, but that is my own business. It helps soothe me while I'm smashing hard drives.
Is that why you have a sledgehammer to the desk?
It's one of many reasons, yes. Personal defense is another one. I can see the question burning inside you.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
And landscaping.
What landscaping? You're in an RV, man.
That means I have more landscaping than most other people. The entire world is my landscape.
I don't think that's how it works.
I pull up to a campsite. There's a rock in my way I don't like. I go to my desk. I pull out my trusty desk hammer. I remove the rock.
Arthur, that's not how it works. You can't do that. That's private property or potentially public land. Anyway, that's not what you do.
It's what I do. Maybe it's not what you do, but it's what Arthur Q. Mansley does.
You're really good at getting us off topic.
You're very bad at keeping us on topic.
This is my first interview.
It's really showing, Beth, I must say. You're apprentice flag flying.
What?
I apologize. That might have been rude.
Thank you for the apology before I called you out. This is why a lot of people don't like you.
You are bestowing this upon me. I'm becoming more politically correct and knowledgeable.
Polite and nice?
That too, yes. We can add that to my resume.
Which I type up.
Yes.
As an intern.
Of course.
For the project, how does finances happen? Because you mentioned that it's really costly to get a lot of cassettes. How do you get the are there sponsors? Are there people that support us? How are you making money, and how am I getting paid? Do I need to worry about that?
Beth, do you know if the IRS listens to this podcast? Just off the record, do you know if the IRS is...
This is on the record. We're recording.
Yes, we make money and pay our taxes. Okay, Beth. The truth is, I fund most of Ghost Stories myself through my own personal funds, through an inheritance I gained.
Okay. Do you think that the podcast that we're doing, do you think that it reaches a lot of audience members? You mentioned the subscribers that you had that were very analog. Do you know how we're reaching people now?
Well, I call them subscribers. It's really just a name I kind of...
Did you just drop them off in random people's mailboxes?
That's advertising, in a way, is it not? If the newspapers can do it, why can't Arthur Mansley?
The newspapers, they get the people's information and permission.
I've got interesting things to say and share. Why are people not interested?
Do you know how many people are interested in our new recording that is digital?
I've been told it's many multiples of a number.
Is it more than 2?
I hope so.
Because you don't let me look at the analytics.
It makes me very sad to look at numbers. It's a reminder of how futile everything is in the end, you know. If there's one thing I learned from Master Ipsum, Lorem Ipsum, in my 23 years of training, it's that paranormal interviewers get no respect.
Why did you decide to take this job if you knew that?
Because it's not about the respect, it's not about the money, Beth, it's about the stories. The ghost stories, it's right in the title, Beth.
Do you think that the people that we're interviewing really, how do you think they react to either you're approaching them for their story or them approaching you? How do you think they react?
Well, they love it. Normally no one gives them the time of day. Normally it's a scream at the top of their lungs for torches and pitchforks. It's never, hello, how was your childhood? They never get that. So it's an interesting experience for them and a chance to share their stories. And as you well know, I present a soapbox at the end of every episode for them to spread a message across America to the youth, directly to the youth. And I'm just providing a platform.
So you get respect from them.
Yes.
Does your family respect you?
My family is...
Because, I mean, essentially you travel solo.
I'm not solo, you're with me, Beth.
Only just recently.
And it's been a wonderful time.
Do you get respect from your friends and family? Do you have friends? Do I need to worry about you?
My work is all the friendship I need. I leech joy off of those I interview. The joy they get from doing the interview is osmosed to me. I am desperately lonely.
There's a tissue box to your left.
Thank you. Oh, this is worse than therapy, babe. Oh.
We've had that tissue box for every interview, and this is the first time it's been used.
God knows Clancy could have used it.
That's true. He was very adamant he didn't want to. So we did allude to this at the beginning of the episode. What is one of your craziest interviews that you've ever had?
Sorry. Gather myself.
Okay. Most likely off of recording because we've only been doing this for a few.
Oh, no, I can delve back into my mental archives of the cassette years. A marvelous few decades that was. Well, I would have to say in 1999, I had a rather interesting interview with a man who claimed to be able to transform into a giraffe. He only claimed to be able to do this twice, once into it, once back, so he was not able to do it anymore. But he really had an interesting story.
And that was the craziest interviewer that you've ever interviewed.
It was up there, really, because giraffes, really, like that's a creature that shouldn't even exist in itself. A neck that long, that's ridiculous. There's no need. But this man claiming to transform into one and then revert back. I mean, just the very idea that someone would turn into something so fantastical and majestic and then choose to return to humanity. I mean, it's ridiculous, insane. I still don't understand.
Who was the most either famous, infamous, notable person you've ever interviewed?
The most
definitely
famous.
Not King Tut. That's something by itself.
If I could bag King Tut, that would be insane. That would be a career maker. No, I've got my sense much higher. I know you asked about what I've done, but I'm going to tell you about my aspiration, my dream, my goal.
Okay.
My dream interview. King Arthur.
That makes sense.
Right.
Is your real name even Arthur? Did you have it legally changed?
These are questions that are not really good, Beth.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law due to your profession? Due to the cryptid nature of your profession,
well,
not the IRS
there
profession.
There have been many accusations made and charges filed, but nothing that has been able to be proven in a court of law.
What happened in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan?
There was an individual who I thought was a gnome, and I approached them for an interview. I approached this individual and I said, "Greetings, gnome," in the gnome language, so it sounded more like "Niha, booba booba." You know, it's a traditional greeting, "Niha, booba booba," and he was so insulted. And I said, "Oh, my apologies. I did not mean to offend you, your gnomishness. Your small stature is very empowering to me." And apparently that was the worst thing I could have said.
Probably, yes.
Really, who could have guessed?
I could have.
I thought I was being respectful and reasonable to this gnomish individual.
This was before I got here, just so you know.
Shortly before, yes. This is one of the events that kind of contributed to my search for an intern.
So, but that person filed charges because the authorities stopped you at the border.
He tried to leave the area without signing the paperwork saying that whatever I had recorded is okay to go on air. He tried to just leave and drive away. And that really, I needed the paperwork signed, so I may have tailed him for a few counties. But that's fine. It's okay.
Arthur.
I avoided jail time.
What?
Well, yeah, it turns out if you're old enough, they just let you do anything.
So you've been in trouble with the law a lot?
A lot is a relative term.
But, a lot.
I've experienced.
Oh, my goodness. I did not sign up for that. Okay.
It's in the contract, Beth.
What?
It's in the contract.
It is?
Yes, on page 17. You will contractually
You only gave me 16
to bail me out of jail.
You only gave me 16 pages.
See, this is why I need an intern.
That's not how it works. You can't have an intern before you have an intern. We need to review that contract.
Yes.
Anyway, we're getting close to the end of time. So what I would like to ask you is something that I ask of all of my interviewees.
Oh, you do the thing.
Yes, so what...
She's doing the thing. Audience, listen, this is Beth's first time doing the thing.
So, what we ask all of our interviewees is if you were able to talk to the youth of America, what would you say to them in regards to why you are so mean to me all of the time?
This took a turn I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
like an abrupt, 98-degree turn to the left. I had a whole speech prepared and everything. Well, I suppose they can just adapt it. Children of America, this is Arthur Q. Mansley addressing you from the internet. In regards to my treatment of my lovely
What's my last name?
intern Beth. Yes.
Yeah?
I will say that it is very important that whenever you take a job or an internship, you thoroughly read any contract provided to you.
Was being mean to me also on page 17?
Well, maybe not explicitly in writing, but it was kind of implied.
We're skipping to the actual last question. If you were to talk to the children, the youth of the world, what would you say to them? You have anything that you want to say. Go ahead.
Well, now I feel like I'm being portrayed in a negative light. But do you really feel
This was
like
in the contract. This was in the contract for my podcast that you signed that I could say whatever I wanted.
Well, I asked you to read the contract for me and tell me if there's anything I needed to know in it.
It's not.
Okay. Returning to the question at hand. The youth of America. This is me, your most of the time host, Arthur Q. Mansley speaking. I'm still just thrown by your accusations of mistreatment, Beth. I'm so sorry. I did not know you felt this way. I was being firm but fair, I thought. A guiding hand directing you towards greatness in the realm of paranormal interviewing.
Sometimes it gets a little much.
Well, I was not aware. This was not reported to HR.
That's because I am HR and everything. If you were to report it, it would be just telling me to report it to me.
Was that done?
No, because you didn't
There's
realize.
no paperwork trail, so I'm therefore absolved of all responsibility.
You wouldn't even know where the papers were.
I would ask you for them.
That's what I'm saying. How do you know there was no paperwork?
What?
No, there's no paperwork.
See, there's no paperwork.
We're working on our relationship. I don't mean to accuse you fully. Just a little. I'm just bringing it to your awareness in a way that you'll understand, which is direct to the point and maybe a little bit gruff.
And fully available on the internet.
You signed the contract.
Oh, you're right.
Is there anything you want to say for the end of the episode?
Youth of America, it is very important that when you receive a contract, not only do you have your intern read it, but you yourself must also do a cursory skim throughout, just to see if there are any nuggets of information that might be relevant in many situations in your life. Or else you may end up in a very awkward situation on your own podcast on the internet.
Well, thank you, Arthur Q. Mansley, for being here on the side of the road. Well, it's a truck stop in Iowa. I have been your paranormal intern, Beth Oglesby. Join us next time on Ghost Stories. Goodbye, everybody.